Good morning, nephew. How is it going in the ATL?
Oh, it's a grand morning, just a little rain, but it's nothing wrong with a little shower to wash away what you have going on for the week. But it's been a blessing. What about you, Auntie?
It's the same here. It's not raining, but it's cold. It's like 30, 40 degrees in March. We're approaching April.
March.
Right. So see talk about seasons changing, right? Talk about
Right.
the season in this season. So, but I'm all good. I'm gonna turn it over to you. Thank you for agreeing to join me in Brandon's absence as he prepares for his trip. So, thank you. I'm so blessed to have wonderful, wonderful, amazing, young, intelligent men in my life. Family, right? Family,
Greatly
right?
appreciate those words. Greatly appreciate those words. Thank you both for allowing me to come on and kind of share my insights and, some of the things that I've been doing throughout the years in regards to, just being thought of is just appreciative. So greatly appreciate you. I love you both. Safe travels, Godspeed to Brandon while he's, traveling over the road and flying and going there and from and to and, wherever he's going right now, because he's always going somewhere, we just bestow blessings upon his travels. So thank you for just allowing me this opportunity to come on and go through the daily motivation. I've had the opportunity to tune in numerous times, and it's been awesome. I think it's truly impactful, and hopefully we have something for those who are tuning in today. I know when they got on, they probably say, "Look, Brandon's a little browner. He has hair, and the beard comes and goes, but yeah, that doesn't look like Brandon. But I'm
I'm
the
different.
nephew, I'm the cousin. So my name is my name is William Hall, aka Willpower. I'm a coach, a father, a servant. I actually have my own nonprofit foundation called the William Hall Foundation. I also own my own business called Empower the Premise, which is a real estate holding and flipping company from a tax lien perspective. And professionally, I work for Comcast Xfinity. I'm a retail store manager, and I am the co-lead of the Black Employee Network, and that houses over 1,800 members. So I think I have some insight on what we're going to talk about this day. I've kind of gone through the passage. So without further ado, we're going to jump into day 56. I hope that everyone is excited and prepared for the ride. We're going to give you back some things and some insights and some perspective, and also some education in regards to maybe the vantage point that Dennis Kimbro was speaking from after kind of going through the passage a few times myself. So before we jump into it, do we have any comments? Anybody that's chiming in, Auntie?
Yes. So, good morning, Miss Brenda. She's a regular here. She says, "Good morning, Will and Tammy. Happy Wednesday." We have our Flav all the way from, is it Guana? You're from? I think she says hello. And then my brother Mike is in the house as well. He says, "Good morning."
Good morning. Good morning to you both. Thank you all for being here. Hopefully, you're going to gain something and take something away from this conversation this morning. So, we're going to jump into the passage. As we all know, and for those who might come on and see the recording later, we're reading from Daily Motivations for African American Success, and that book is by Dennis Kimbro. Today is March 27th. Okay, so if you have the book, and if you don't have the book, I'm going to read along. Hopefully, I enunciate correctly so everyone is able to pick up exactly what the Arthur Kimbrough is putting down. Okay, so March 27th, the passage reads, well, the heading is "Come on in, the water's fine." Come on in, the water's fine. And I'm just going to throw this in there. We're black, so when you say that, that registers a little differently when we're talking about jumping in some water. So come on in, the water's fine. The quote that is attached to the passage for the day comes from Thomas A. Dorsey, father of gospel music. And the quote is, money doesn't make the man. Some people have money and some people are rich. And the passage reads, take a look at some of the limiting beliefs concerning wealth in general and money in particular. Have you, even to a slight degree, bought into any of them? It takes money to make money. Money is the root of all evil. People resent the rich. The best things in life are free. It's easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. It is easy to see how believing a few of these myths not only keeps money away from us, but also make us want to get rid of the money we have. There's no lack in the universe. Instead, the universe is filled with ideas flowing through time and space, and it is up to us to take out the flowing river and abundance of what we want. Our unlimited abundance is well, I'm about to hold on, give me a second. I just read this earlier. Our unlimited abundance is and acknowledges to the mighty Mississippi River. It is a vast body of water made up of many other smaller rivers leading into tributaries. These tributaries assist it in developing its strength and power. There's only one Mississippi River. So to there, it is only one universal law, which, when rightly used, we lead us into a peace, joy, and abundance. Standing in the flow of the universe and saying that there isn't enough wealth to go around is like standing in the middle of the Mississippi River and thinking, I can't have any more water. All of my water just passed by. It is if you have blank. I'm going to say this again. It is if you have a blank check and you use it to write yourself a fortune and happiness. I'm going to read that last stanza again. It says, standing in the flow of the universe and saying that there isn't enough wealth to go around is like standing in the middle of the Mississippi River thinking, I can't have any more water. All of my water just passed me by. It is as if you have a blank check and you use it to write yourself a fortune and happiness. So today's affirmation is, I will hold my bucket under the fountain of prosperity. And we're going to read it two more times and repeat, please. I will hold my bucket under the fountain of prosperity. I will hold my bucket under the fountain of prosperity. Auntie, what are your thoughts?
Whew. Well, got a couple of things underlined here as you were reading. And like, I'm going to go back up to the top. Like you said, come on in, the water is fine. I kind of instantly went, come on in the room. You
Right.
remember that? Come on. Right. I
Yes,
kind of went
ma'am.
there with it, but I know I'm going to bring it on back down, y'all, because you got to know about the room. If you've heard your grandmama, somebody sing about the power of coming on in the room, right? But the water is fine. And then our quote, money doesn't make the man. Some people have money and some people are rich. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
difference than having money and being rich. So think about the people who have the money. Think about the people that we see as successful and celebrities, right? And think about the issues that they have in
Mm-hmm.
spite of the money that they have obtained, right? Few of them are
Absolutely.
rich because when we talk about being rich, it's not about what you have, right? Even if you are rich, if you have money, if I'm gonna say that, how you spend it, how you see it, how you view it, does it make you who you are? If you lose it, are you still the same? So there's a difference. And then how it breaks it down about our limiting, have we bought into the limiting beliefs? What's so interesting there, nephew, is this part that says it's easy to see how believing even a few of these myths not only keeps money away from you or us, but it also might make us want to get rid of the money we have. And I think
Mm-hmm.
about how I'm gonna take it there, you guys. We as and I mentioned, I'll say it this way. It's probably more professional and better. I've talked about how when it's time to go back to school for our children, right? We will go spend hundreds of dollars for back to school clothes. Other races, they come as they are.
Mm-hmm.
So the way we spend it, like there's something called money trauma, right? There is such a thing called money trauma. We talk about all these different kind of traumas, and this is where knowledge and understanding and where you have to change your perspective, your view. And how do you do that? You become knowledgeable. You have to
Mm-hmm.
study these things, right? So that's another one. I got a few more, but I want to hold it. I want to turn it back over to you. And then maybe midways, if you don't mind, read the back of the book, maybe midways through it. Do you still have that?
I actually don't have it. If you could
Okay, no
take the
problem.
lead
No,
on that one.
no problem then. So we will. I tell you what. So I'll turn it back over to you, and we'll get that in a little bit later, maybe towards the end.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, I'm going to pick up off of what you said. Like I said earlier, I took a couple notes and jotted down a few things as I was reading it, and I think I went through the passage maybe 4 times at this point, and just gained a different, I would say, perspective or maybe a different revelation for some every time I went back through it. But I just wanted to. I'm gonna immediately go back to the limiting beliefs in which
Mm.
the sentence read. It take a look at some of the limiting beliefs concerning wealth in general and money in particular. And the first thing that kind of stood out to me was, I mean, just that alone, limiting beliefs. Where does your belief system stand? Where does your education, your tutelage, what did you learn about money? What were your experiences with money? How did you see people utilize and invest their money? If they invested their money, was that a conversation at the dinner table, or was it something that you seen from a mentor, or was it something that was sparked from someone you saw externally? Because, like you said, from a celebrity standpoint, they're starting to move differently with their money, even though they have the exposure to these particular different avenues for how to invest their money, but they're also being public about what they're doing and being able to not only give back to the community, but how they multiplying their money to whereas after their celebrity, whatever brought them into stardom has now passed, and now they're in a different season of their life, and now that's becoming a little bit more public for us to really gauge into and take note of. But when we think about limiting beliefs, what influenced your belief system around money? What influenced your belief system around wealth? For most of us, I would say, especially for myself, it comes from our parents or our guardians. Who raised you. How did you see them use money? Where did they place their money? Did they save more money than they spent? Did they spend more money than they saved? Did they take some of the savings that they actually accumulated and were able to put it in another instrument and then multiply that money into something else that brought forth more fortune, more abundance, more peace, more what we consider to be wealth? But one thing before I move forth into it, when we consider wealth, I want to give you back this quote, and it's something that I've always hold on to since the first time I heard it. And I only heard it one time from a bishop here in Atlanta, Bishop Dale Brunner, and he was quoted as saying that wealth is not how much you have, but how little you need.
Say that
It's not
again.
how much you have, but how little you need. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you start to put that into perspective, it starts to, what just happened? Oh, let me start this down. That was interesting. All right. And when you really start to put that into perspective, it starts to now create your ideology around money, your mindset around money, your perspective around money. One thing that was kind of cool, and I think it was very purposely placed, is, you know, Dennis used a gospel quote. He used a quote from somebody has this attachment to the word of God, because from a gospel standpoint and writing gospel music, and this is the father of gospel. So, I went back and did some research on him. But when you think about the perspective of being the father of gospel music, and starting the national convention for gospel choirs and choruses, like, you're ingrained and you hear the word of God all the time. And so what I thought about the quote when the first, after reading it the first time, it was to go back to the scripture that there will always be poor among you. So he didn't mention the poor in the quote, but it's to say that we are set for different levels in our lives, but we also have the ability to change our lives, to create a different life based off our efforts and what our passions and our pursuits are. We can change our dynamic. We can change what it looks like. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about just from the standpoint of knowing what I had to do as a child, but understanding what I don't have to do as an adult because I'm not in that same financial situation. So experience being one of the major keys into tying into your ideology around money, your mindset around money. What did you see it when you're in your childhood? What were you taught? I know what I was taught quite often. I do a combination of what I was taught, and then I also have added what I was taught in in unison with what I was educated on from a wealth standpoint to move my money differently, to look at money as a tool, as a instrument to be able to change your life. Not this, oh, I'm afraid of it. Because usually when we talk about money, there's this fear element that you're so scared to lose it. And one thing that I'll give you from going to multiple seminars, and I think I learned this one from Rich Dad Poor Dad, is you have to begin to change your mindset through behavior. So if you understand when you go to make money and how you made money, you take a little bit of that money for yourself to over and to up like to yeah to overcome, I would say, and to uproot this idea that you won't have it next time around. Like you won't be able to produce this next month, this same amount of money again, or maybe even more, because you're stuck in this thought process of I'm not going to be able to replace what I just spent. But you have the power to multiply. You have the power to be fruitful. That is a ordination given by God. Be fruitful and multiply. It wasn't just about children. It wasn't just about planting and seeding the earth with fruit. It's about what you give back and what you're able to produce. And we learned that, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But then the last thing about it is, how intentional are you about being educated on wealth and money? How many seminars do you go to? How many books do you read? How often do you try to uproot what you were taught to learn something else in regards to how you handle your wealth and how you come into wealth, and then defining what wealth is for you? And I'm gonna go back to it, Auntie, because I go into the kingdom mindset around money, and then
Okay,
we're
you're
gonna
good. I want you to
yeah,
say one more time. Wealth is not about how much we have, but how much we need.
yeah.
Is that
Wealth is, so the definition of wealth based on Dr. Bishop Brunner is, wealth is not how much you have, but how little you need.
how little? That
How
makes it
little
totally
you
different.
need.
But how little you need. How little. Okay.
He also mentioned, this was the funnier part. He mentioned later on after that in that same sermon, he was talking about how we pay for space for things that we don't even use. So we have storage
Mhm.
units that we're using money to pay for things in a storage unit that you never use. Like you never go back and actually put on those shoes, or use that bed frame, or use that mattress, or use those bed spreads, or whatever is in that storage unit that you're using your money to pay for. You don't need that. So when we think about need, there's a perspective shift that we have to change our mindset around. Like, okay, you don't need everything. You don't need everything. But what do you need? What's most important to you?
Mm, mm, mm. You know what? It reminds me of Brandon saying that. I remember he said this to me: when our wants become our needs, life changes for us. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is
Mm-hmm.
different. And I put out there what the definition. I just found a definition on uh, poor. When you talked about some of us are, how did you say it? We were there will always be poor
The
among
poor will
us.
always be with you. Yep.
So do you all think, and for you all who are listening, when you said that, I thought about the poor in spirit
Mm-hmm.
more so than the poor being poor as it relates to money. Although I do think that we have some trauma, some money trauma based on
Mm-hmm.
just um, how we view money. But also, as I think about this definition of poor, lacking sufficient money to live at a standard. Who controls the standard? What is the standard? Considered comfortable or normal in a
Mm-hmm.
society. See, that tells you right there. Who Money to live at a standard, considered comfortable or normal in a society. And then it gives an example: people who were too poor to afford a telephone. Now, think about that. Someone will, um, look upon themselves as poor based on not having a telephone, right? And not having the red bottoms or whatever else it is. We have to be intentional about not um, finding our value through
Mm-hmm.
how much money we have, but
Mm-hmm.
more about how little we need. And I
Right.
love that. You made me think about, and y'all, and I say this, and I don't mean it to sound arrogant, but I say it over and over again. I've gotten to a point that I feel there is nothing I need.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing I need other than my bills to be paid, right? Have food, shelter, peace. But all the other stuff, now it doesn't mean that I don't buy myself things, but I'm very intentional about buying what I need. It's sad how many clothes I have in there. I remember my dad walked in my closet and I think he said some curse words. And it's been years and years and years ago.
I
It's like,
know
how
people
much,
say it about my
yeah, how
shoes
much do you
when I tell
need?
them how many shoes I have.
Yeah. And then even about the storage, I hope my friend is listening. I love you. I love you. I love you. You know I do. But she's had stuff in storage in a whole nother state for probably 8, 9 years.
Wow.
Y'all tell me,
Wow.
and it's not a little bit of money. It's a lot of bit of money, as my grandson would say. It's a lot of bit of money, grandma. But think about that. You could have blessed someone with that furniture that you probably. I mean, come on, come on. But I
Right.
love it. Wealth is not
Somebody
about
else
how
needs
much
it.
we have, but how little we need. I got to put that out there.
So
Go
the other
ahead,
thing,
nephew.
until you said standard. So, and just touching on what you just said, that standard is set by you. It's your mindset around it. What do you feel like is enough? What do you feel like is comfortable? What do you feel like where your peace hits? Because this has been a constant conversation, even in professional space, because I've had some success, even with working with Comcast Xfinity, and that conversation has been, okay, where do you lose balance from you're making too much money, but now you've lost your peace, or where you have peace, but you have enough money? Where's that balance? What is that position? What does it look like? That is for your standard. And the other thing I would tie into it is two things. Two things. When you think about the scriptures that were actually quoted within the passage that Dennis used, I want you all to think about influence. I want you all to think about two things: influence and exposure. Influence. A lot of times when you speak to someone, especially somebody that's of clergy, or you go to church, I'm gonna just say you go to church, and whoever is behind the pulpit speaking, usually the scriptures that are used are to build a perspective for the topic or the message that they're trying to send. So a lot of times when we gain exposure about certain things, and it's referenced from the Bible, is pulling certain things so that person can get their point across, but it also goes with motive. And because of that motive, oftentimes we don't get the full understanding of the word. We don't get the full understanding of what can be used to actually uplift us, opposed to bringing us down. Now, if I was to take exactly what scriptures were used for the message and for the passage, then yes, we can surmise, or we can come to the conclusion that you might have this anxiety or this fear around wealth and money. But I'm gonna give you a few other scriptures and a few other quotes that will change your perspective around money, because this is more kingdom mindset influence. This is how you expose yourself to everything else, the full gambit of what the contents of the Bible, and what the mindset and what the perspective and the shifting of your mind should come from. So just a few. So everything you touch shall prosper. That's one. That's a word. Everything you touch shall prosper. Think about if you operated with your money, that everything that you touch shall prosper. Just think about that. I'm gonna give you another one. You've been given the power to create. You've been given the power to create. The next ordination came within Genesis. Be fruitful and multiply. We often think about kids. It's not just about kids. It's not just about kids. We produce nine fruits. From a spiritual standpoint, we produce nine fruits, nine healthy fruits, nine fruits of the spirit. And in producing those things, it also does this thing. Your gift will make room for you. Whatever fruit that you are totally operating in, that you produce, and God has given you the ability to produce, that thing will make money for you. I'll say it again. It will produce money for you. So if you operate in that particular space with intentionality and being purposeful, you will be able to produce money and wealth from that particular gift. And the last one I will give, I love this one. This is on my Bible cover. Everybody understands this. I have heard this scripture from Jeremiah. It says, "I came to give you hope, a future, and to prosper you." And the message, the affirmation from the day was, "I will hold my bucket under the fountain of prosperity." So ultimately, to say that through the entire focus, through the entire understanding of the passage from Dennis, is it's all about your belief system, your mindset, your perspective, your vantage point, your exposure, your education, your influence, your tutelage, and what you've learned in regards to wealth, in regards to money. And if you feel like there's a gap, if you feel like there's a difference between you and another person, and you know you have the ability to produce whatever that they're producing, it's probably on the other side of education to shift your mindset.
So Lil Will, you make me think about when you talk about your gifts. And we often talk about your gifts will make room for you. And we often talk about how there is a churches, a Popeyes, a KFC. Now even the gas stations are selling chicken right on the
Right,
same
right.
some of the same corners.
Crunchies or whatever it's called.
Right, crispy, crunchy, and all that. Right. Your think about that. Your gifts will make room for you. And CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, Walmart, even the grocery stores are selling medication and things like that. But, and I'm saying this to say, your thing might be chicken, right? And I want you to make this applicable to life. Your thing might be chicken, and you can stand on the same corner with someone else who has a thing. Their thing is chicken, and your chicken will make room for you. We don't
Exactly.
have to be fearful, right? Because the mindset we have, and I love how it brings you back to sometimes even the way you spend your money is
Mm-hmm.
like get rid of it, because you are not
Absolutely.
used to um because you're not used to your maybe parents having a savings to where when something happens, boom, we got it, right?
Or until let me throw this in there. Or your parents tell you to save all your money. And we might not
Mm,
have time to go into it, but if
mm,
everyone who's listening just look up the parable of the servants and the money that they were given and what each
yes,
of them
what they
decided
did
to
with
do with the money. Just look that up. I know we won't have time to get into it, but look that up because
it.
saving
See,
your money is not multiplying your money.
yes, yes, and we have to really dig deep. That's why I say, all the distractions that we have, even how Brandon broke it down about birth, when our children were being born, how, right? When we know that my grandmother had 17 kids, and from
Mm-hmm.
my understanding, all but one was at home. Well, and one was under a tree while she was picking cotton, went into labor,
Mm-hmm.
and had to do her thing and go back to work. Think about that, y'all. And now today, we might cry if we got to get up and feed the baby in the middle of the night.
Right. And don't appreciate it either.
And don't appreciate just the value of being able to hear your baby cry and to go in there and bond as you feed it. We got to change our stinking thinking. And you got to realize that you don't have to be, and this isn't no way throwing shade on our parents or our caregivers who took care of us, but it's like we have to remember that they had so little to work with. But
Mm-hmm.
even then, I'll give you an example. Frederick Douglass said, "You can have my body, but never my mind." So it's your decision. It is your decision how you see money. I got to go back to your quote. Wealth consists in not having great possessions. I'm sorry, that's Brenda's. That's a good one. I need to read that one again, but let me get your thing back up here because that is powerful. Wealth is not about how much we have, but how little we need. And then you have to ask yourself, why do you need it?
Mm-hmm.
What is it for? Because sometimes we need the money. When you measure your money based on what you spend it on, it'll tell you where you are. And
Right.
then you ask
And what you
yourself
value.
why, right?
And
What
what you
you
value.
value, what you're
And I
really
tell
working for.
I tell Glenn this all the time, and it started from when we first started dating, and it was from a relational standpoint, but then she sees how it's kind of cascaded through everything. Keep the priority. If
Mm.
you do that, you'll be okay. But
And
keep the
how do you do
priority the
that? You
priority.
have to know the priority,
Right.
right?
You got to know
You
what your
have to know the
priorities are.
priority.
You have to put them in place. You got to put them in order. Well, Auntie, I want to give just because the come on in and the water is fine. He mentioned it back with the Mississippi River, so I want to attach
Yeah.
a scripture to him saying that just so everyone can really he could really take this home. So Revelations 21:6 it reads, He said to me, "It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty, I will give water without cost from the spring of the water of life." From the
Mm.
water of life. Come on in. The water's
And
fine.
to the thirsty, because sometimes, see, you might be thirsty, but it ain't for the water, for the life, for the true
Right.
life.
But
What are you
you touched
thirsting
on
for?
something, Auntie. Spiritual maturity ties into how you handle your wealth.
And everything in your life,
Everything.
everything. Everything. Greater is he that is in you, in me, than he that is in the world.
It's in the
And I
world.
say, I'll end with this: whom shall I fear? I'm like Mary said, hey, I'm a servant. So if you say this is me, this is what I have to endure, so be it. Let's go.
Hmm.
Let's go. And that's in finances, that's in everything. Because again, as it says here, um, money doesn't make the man. And see, we get it twisted. We think money makes us.
Mm-mm.
It brings value to us. And then it says some people have money, and then some people are rich. Are you rich?
Right. Think about what
Are
Bob
you
Marley
rich
said.
with
It's
little?
like I'm pretty sure everyone has seen that interview when the reporter asked him how rich he was, and Bob Marley responded in confusion, like, "What do you mean rich? Rich in what? Like I'm not rich in money." Now Bob had millions of dollars during that time, but he wasn't his rich. His perspective of rich was his family, was the happiness, the peace, the abundance that he's able to provide for those around him, and be happy in that space to be at peace. And for those who are seasoned, and Auntie just mentioned it, you realize that money won't bring you peace. Now it'll take away some of your headaches, but the peace that you have despite not having money, that's a peace that passes all understanding because it doesn't make sense to everyone. So that spiritual maturity side of it that attaches to your wealth, that's where you find true abundance because it's going to give you a peace that even at times when you're lacking something physically, you have everything spiritually.
It makes me also think about Romans 12 and 2, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And we usually leave it right there. But there's a reason why it tells us to be ye transformed, so that you know the perfect, that you can discern the perfect
Hmm.
will of God for your life.
For your
If
life.
you're selling chicken, hamburgers across the street, if you KFC across the street from churches, it don't matter. Because this is the
Right.
perfect will for your life. And
And
sometimes
you
we do.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead, bring it
Auntie.
on.
No, I
No,
was gonna say because I've had an opportunity to really be like engulfed and exposed to different cultures. One being like the Latin and Hispanic cultures just through our
mhm,
travels, like really going
mhm,
to their homes, seeing how what we see as a an entitlement to our living style and our lifestyle and what they have, and it's a luxury actually because they don't have it. But you mentioned something earlier about not having a phone or a cell phone
mhm,
in other cultures, that's not important to them,
mhm. Right,
but they're happy. They're at peace. They have more joy and peace and love surrounding their culture than we do here in the US.
right, right, right.
So when you think about comparison is the killer of progress. So we always comparing to somebody else and we're not looking at what's actually true priority and actually a true necessity in your life, it will muddy the waters. Then you have this gray area that you're operating in and you don't understand what's important. Now you're chasing this ever moving goalpost just because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses or you're trying to live based off through somebody else is trying to live through you, or maybe you trying to live the same life that they have, but that's not your life. You got to
Right.
determine what it is that it is for you. That shifts your mindset. Once that mindset shifts comes into play, then you have the opportunity to prioritize how your wealth and your money should be spent and what wealth and rich and being rich looks like to you. We always talk about being rich, and then it was like, well, rich is not enough. We got to be wealthy. Wealthy. Well, when is enough? Isn't this the same conversation that we have by the top 3% within the world or within the nation? I would say, and they continuously want to build wealth. Why?
Mm,
What can't you buy? What don't you need? It's a spirit. So when just like he said, money is the root of all evil. No, it's the love of money is the root of all evil. Once you start to put money over God and over your belief system and over your spiritual connection and spiritual relationship, that's when everything starts to fall to shambles because you have lost the one thing, and that was what the priority was. Your salvation is not worth the money that you're trying to gain.
right. And sometimes if you think about that, we will work, work, work. Our work, what we do, and how much we do it can keep us from who allows us the gift to be able to do it. Meaning that
Hmm.
we won't even have time to sit and read God's word, pray,
Hmm.
meditate, right? We won't, like, think about be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. To me, that's like remodeling your house. If you were going to remodel your house, You got to go in there and tear some things. You got to take some stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
You got to tear it down
Mm-hmm.
and take it out in order to bring something else in. The
Amazing
same with
analogy.
your
Yep.
mindset and your life. The same. You don't do a renovation without bringing some stuff out, because then it's not a renovation. You're adding on, and sometimes we just keep adding to our distorted, dysfunctional mindset that keeps us thinking that money will answer your problems. I learned about a homeless guy. I was watching a documentary who won the lottery. No, I'm sorry. It was a documentary. They actually gave this guy, I think, $1 million. He couldn't even process it mentally on what to do with it. He said he
Mm,
got a hotel room and he still slept on the floor. His mind would not let him. That lets you know how our mind can get stuck. That is probably one of the most valuable scriptures in the Bible. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you know my will for you,
mm-hmm.
my perfect will for you.
Mm-hmm. Perfect will
I
for your
also
life.
know of a family that takes in people. They allow people to stay in their home for 1 year and pay nothing, nothing. So you could get yourself together. So people are in and out of their home. It's a husband and a wife. People are in, they have the space, and they allow people with discernment for sure,
Yes,
families with
ma'am.
children, they allow them to live in their home. So they've fallen on hard times, and they allow them to come in Texas and live in their home rent free, no utilities, nothing. And then I've been told that some people even go in and mess that up.
Oh yeah, mindset, mindset.
Mindset.
But that's funny that you brought that up though, Auntie. I didn't know of that story, but when I say and God knows this to be true, that's a dream that I've had. Probably since, and
Mm,
I give you perspective. Probably since we were staying in Alabama. That's a dream that I've always had. Not
wow.
just multiple people, but maybe
Wow.
just one. If I could just impact one person in that particular way to put them back on their feet, I would love to be able to do so. And I think that's why a lot of what I do from a philanthropy standpoint and just giving back to our brothers and sisters goes back to the homeless, because I've had some, I won't say, when I say experience, it's been to certain parts of homelessness, not full homelessness. It's been in certain seasons having to deal
Mhm.
with certain things. But yeah, that's been a dream of mine to be able to do that just one time. And when you truly feel convicted, when you see a brother or sister not being able to take care of themselves or even buy themselves food, then you have something that you have to do. And if you don't feel that conviction, I'm not trying to condemn you, but
Mm,
let's take true inventory of that, and really start to be self-aware as to why you don't care about another person's well-being, to the point to where it's maybe you can't do anything now, but if you just associate your time, because time is the most important thing. That's the other thing that we get a little confused by, and other coaches understand. We are more confused because it's a you know what do we call it,
mm.
capitalistic society, that we forget that the most important element, the most important value that we have is our time. So oftentimes when you don't have money, give your time. God sees it.
Yeah. It's interesting. You just made me think about something. And I want to say this because you mentioned about how we pass the homeless. I remember being in Atlanta some years ago, and I saw this, like, just this crowd, this long line of people, probably the longest I've ever seen. I guess maybe other than California, but it wasn't a line. It was just people everywhere in tents under the interstate and all of that. But I literally thought that there was like some kind of festival going on, that it was something happening. Y'all, there were women with children, there were men with children. That line was so long, and it was to get into the shelter.
Mm-hmm.
One shelter. There's no way. And I guess in their minds it's like, okay, I'm just going to stand here, because maybe I'll get in. And there is not a time that I pass by a homeless person or someone that I perceive to be homeless that I don't pray for them. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to move past it. I don't know. I don't know. And maybe it's because as you sit here and look at me, I've been on the side of needing to be someone to take us in as a little
Mm-hmm.
person. Imagine that. I've been there. And some people will take you in, like the family in Texas. They take you in with. I've never had to go that her route, but just her story. I know that it's with love and it's with compassion. And as a little girl, I remember someone who allowed us to come in their house, but it wasn't with love. It was with malice. It was with, I'm gonna let you in, but I don't want you here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So even how we do things, and you could take this right back. We're not getting off topic. How you spend your money.
Right. Be a
I know
cheerful giver.
people who have 5, 6 bedrooms and haven't seen one of them in months. Like there's one over there that you don't even go in. Like somebody could be living in there, you might not know.
Right.
But you got a family member who might just need a little break. With discernment. I'm sorry, with discernment, I say. With discernment. So, nephew, this has been good. This has been good. This has been good. We
Uh,
have some
I
comments
would
here.
pray so.
Yes, my cousin Pam is in. She said quite a bit here. My Lord, time has changed. She says a couple of amens and yeses going on there. Brenda Davis says, love all those scriptures, Will. I am working while I listen, but I will definitely go back and take notes. Um, Brenda says, wealth consists is not having great possessions, but in having a few wants. Right? Okay. And I think that's it. We've covered everything there. So anything left from you as we to bring it
Um.
to a close?
Okay. To bring us to a close, a couple different things. And I think I just want to touch on to this because for those of you who have had the opportunity to kind of, I would say, at least go through the Bible maybe once, maybe even twice. I'm a huge and I didn't add this, just being an associate pastor at the worship center here of Atlanta. When I'm doing studies, when I'm preparing for sermons, the etymology is like truly, truly impactful to me because I feel like without truly going into the definition of the word, not only
Mm,
defining the word, but then the time and the space that the word was used. So when we think about when we think about Thomas Dorsey, this quote was probably taken somewhere in the 1940s, 1950s, because he started the National Convention in 1933 for black choirs and black choruses. So just kind of trying to put things into perspective, because a lot of times that's where sometimes even my fellow clergymen, we kind of lose sight of that. So when you think about, as it says, he used the Mississippi River as an example or as an analogy, and tributaries is a small body of water flowing into or from a
mm,
larger body of water. And so when the entire passage says, "Come on in, the water is fine," and as I read the scripture from Revelation about about being able to attach to the water of life, and the water just being mentioned in so many ways, coming out of Christ when he was stabbed in the side, coming out of a rock, being split, like all of these things, sitting by a stream of flowing of water, and just being able to be at calm and at peace. This whole passage is about shifting your mindset. When we talk about wealth, when you talk about trying to be in a different space, if you want to change where you are from a monetary standpoint, change your wealth status, your financial status, it goes back to what are you doing to educate yourself and expose you to changing your mindset so that you can come into the water, because it's fine. As the word says, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. So whatever you have faith in that's going to change your monetary status, remember, faith without works is dead. It's something that you have to do about it.
all right, all right. It was something. Oh, come on in. The water is fine. I know we didn't touch on this, but I want to get it out there. The water is fine. So often, when people are in a spiritual, when feeding on people who are feeding from the spirit, I think that was date February 4th or something like that, that we
Mm-hmm.
talked about once the violin was cleaned up. I think it was a violin, a guitar, or something. Once it was cleaned, it became more valuable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the water is fine. Think about how often I know I felt this way, and not meaning that I am. I know I'm not going to bring that in here because I did the work and I'm doing the work, and I know that I have to continue to do the work. But I come across people who I feel that disturbs their spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Just my knowing. It's like I want to say, come on in. It's not just for me. This water is fine, right? I am rich because I have put in the work and that I now know that my wants are my needs because the word says I will supply
All
all,
your needs.
all, not just one.
That's
I'm
a
not going to,
mindset shift,
that's
Auntie.
a mindset shift. I
That's
will
a
supply
faith and belief.
all.
Because
Do you believe that? And I
do
hear
you
so many
believe it?
people. Yeah, do you believe? I hear so many people hating on Steve Harvey, and for the life of me, I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why. To the point where I get angry sometimes because I'm like, people like he doesn't know anything. He should. He's had 3 failed marriages. If that don't teach you,
Right.
and not only that, he says one of the most powerful things I hear Steve Harvey say is, "I'm just crazy enough to believe that God will do what He said He will do." I want that kind of crazy.
Yeah. You want that
And I
kind
want
of
y'all to
that
feel the
faith?
same way about me that a lot of y'all feel about Steve, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to ask yourself, why? You don't even know this man. And
He
I don't
showed
agree with
up.
everything he says. I don't
He
agree with
showed up. He
everything he
shows
says.
up. Right or
Right,
wrong, he
right.
gonna show up.
He's gonna show up. But it's one thing and I've heard many that I've taken with me. He's like, y'all can talk about me all you want, but I'm just crazy enough to believe that if I write the vision and make it plain, and I have the faith of just a mustard seed, not even
Mm-hmm.
of the Mississippi River, just a mustard seed,
Yeah.
he will do what he said he will do. Right? It's a
Yes, ma'am.
mindset,
So y'all
nephew. It's a
mindset,
mindset. It's a
y'all
mindset.
mindset. Y'all heard it from the both of us. It's definitely a faith and a belief and a knowing as to what's for you is for you. Don't compare yourself to anybody else from a wealth standpoint that'll kill your progress and you'll lose sight on the blessing that God has bestowed upon you. So yeah, that's it
Yeah,
right there.
that's it.
And to your point with Steve, one thing, and I just going back because I listen to Bishop Brunner quite often myself. Show up. God can't use anybody that doesn't show up. So why you mad at somebody else for doing what they needed to do to get where they are right now? How many times has God giving you an idea, giving you a gift, told you to go do something, and you didn't do it? You didn't show up. So whatever was you were supposed to reap as a benefit of following through on with obedience, that obedience is better than sacrifice. So just because you sacrifice a couple dollars every other check, don't mean you about to come into $1 million in a few years. Maybe you going where he told you to go, doing what he told you to do, expose you to either this person, because we can't do it alone, expose you to either this person or this information that transformed your life, which transformed your mind, which transformed your bank account.
Right.
But he showed up. Steve Harvey is just an example of showing up.
And I go back to what I said about I feel like sometimes people are offended by whatever. I used to be that person. Somebody would walk in a room that I didn't even know and I would feel some kind of way. You know why? Because this you can't deny the spirit. You can't.
Mhm.
You can fight it. You know, that's what a lot of us are doing. Because it doesn't say it wasn't put in you. Greater is he that is in greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. So it's telling you it's in there. The spirit is in there. Now, what are you doing with it? Same thing like with your money. What are
Right.
you
He's
doing
giving you a
with the
gift
spirit that's
according to
inside of you?
according to what he has set forth in your life. He's giving you everything that you need. It
Everything.
says it in the word. He's giving you a gift. It's up to you to do something with it.
And that's why some of us are so miserable because you know it's in there. You feel it. You know it. But you keep putting it off on somebody else. I didn't get this. And if you tell me your story, I'll tell you somebody who had a worse who had a story that was worse than yours 10 times, but we're not measuring, right? All I'm doing is saying that it's not just for me. It's not just for nephew. It's not just for Brandon. It's for all of us.
And
We
don't
can
think
all be
yourself
on the
different.
same corner selling that chicken.
Yeah. You don't think yourself different from anybody else.
Right.
That spirit, usually, Auntie, what you just mentioned is just you think that you're different from them. Nobody's different from one another. The word tells us there's no one man greater than another. No, not one. I don't care about your
Mm-hmm.
status. I don't care about your title. I don't care about how much money you have or don't have. At the end of the day, we're all still God's children. So don't think you're so
Oh,
different. Oh, whether
oh.
you
So
want to believe it or not, we love you.
yes, exactly. All right, nephew, do what you do about affirmation, and I guess we'll bring it to a close. Thank you all. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for tuning in. I do want to say this: if you've been with us more than I don't know, if you've rocked with us, right, any morning, and you've not gotten this book, hmm, answer that question for me. Because what you do tells a lot about where you are, right?
Mhm.
Your discipline, your habits, the renovation. You could say you're gonna renovate your home, but if you don't ever call contractors, go buy some wood, some nails, a hammer, a bulldozer, something, it ain't gonna happen. So you can show up here and like, hey, play the game, but the real game is what you do when we end the stream. That's the real game. You can dribble the ball, but if you don't shoot it, it ain't going in. There's no
Yeah.
points. Dribbling don't get you points. Period. Period. Okay, nephew, I better go because we'll be here. We'll be here till tomorrow.
Right. So today's affirmation was I will hold my bucket under the fountain of prosperity. And what I want to do is I'm going to change that last word a few times. So I want you all to start to shift. I want the mindset to start to shift so that it's not always about specifically about prosperity, but how to correctly place this in your mindset so that you can have prosperity and so that you can prosper and so you can receive the blessing of abundance. Because abundance for me, the most important thing to me, forget the money, it's the peace. You can't put a dollar amount on it. Like it's invaluable. There's no monetary value you can put on that. Okay. So I will hold my bucket under the
Nephew,
fountain.
before you say that, I gotta say this. Say what you say about the piece again. What
There's
did you
no
say?
there's no dollar amount you can put on peace. The
I'm
most
gonna,
the
I'm
most
gonna,
valuable thing that said again.
I'm gonna change this a little bit. All right, I just
Okay.
need to put it in there. I'm not gonna dwell on it. Ladies, ladies, ladies. This is the new phrase from the men. Men, not boys. They want peace, right? You can't bring them peace if you don't renew your mind, if you don't unpack your bag lady. And I know it has nothing to do with relationship, but when you said that, because I hear so many men, Miss Tammy, I just want peace.
Peace.
And don't counter this with, well, I want peace too. Okay. Then if you want peace too, then be peace.
Right.
Go ahead, nephew.
Be the
That's
change you
another
want to
show.
see. Yeah, be the change you want to see. Be the change you want to see. We all have an obligation to do what we think will better the situation, not worsen the situation.
That's right. There you go.
So
Sorry about
what are you saying? Is what you're saying helping the situation or hurting the situation?
that. Hmm.
Just think
Yeah.
about that to Auntie's point. I will hold my bucket under the fountain of faith.
Ooh.
I will hold my bucket under the fountain of hope. I will hold my bucket under the fountain of love. I will hold my bucket under the fountain of education. I will hold my bucket under the fountain of prosperity because that will be the result. You will prosper as a result of just interchanging that word with stuff that will keep you moving forward, progressing to what you want to have in your life, whether it be an abundance of wealth, or maybe you just okay with being rich, or maybe you just okay with just having that peace and that dollar amount that makes sure that your family has everything that it needs. But one thing that you can rest assured is that God will provide all your needs. So knock on that door, continue to knock, and it'll be answered. And what you ask will be given to you, but you have to do some work and you have to change your mindset.
All right, nephew. It's been great. I'm gonna put this affirmation out there. There we go. All right, you guys. It's been great. Thank you. Are you back on with me tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am. I will be back tomorrow.
Don't y'all be jay about all these fine, wonderful, intelligent young men in my family. And sorry
Amen
they
to
are
that.
taken. Sorry they are taken. Love y'all. We gotta
Peacefully
pray.
taken too. I'm at peace.
Did you say peacefully? Did y'all hear that? Peacefully taken, right? That's a whole nother show. Thank you, nephew. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Bring somebody, share this video, get the book. And let's, as Brendan say, let's have a cookout, let's have a barbecue. But we're selling a different mindset. We're serving a different mindset, right? There
Yes,
you go.
ma'am. Amen to that.
All right. Be peaceful, y'all.